I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. It started off very chill. We thought it was a long holiday. We thought everything was cooling down. It's going to be 2 weeks. We'll give it 2 weeks and then I'll make my decision. And then, they ended up lying to everybody. And apparently that was a part of the plan. And long story short, literally, the United States attacked Iran. So, if you ask J.D. Vance, he'll say that you are not at war with Iran, but you are at war with Iran's nuclear facility. Now, long story short, there was a lot of developments over the weekend. We don't have the futures open. That's why I was hoping to start around now. So then that way, depending on what happens, by the time I'm going over all of it, we could see where the future's open, and then we'll get into it. But depending on what equities do, I do think the easy thing that we could all decide is that oil is probably going to go crazy. Now, besides that, we got two ways we could go. I could cover a lot of it, or I could even give you guys a little history lesson, but even waking up today, a lot of people tagged me in a report about the Strait of Hormuz, and it was saying how the Iranians are going to close it, or that they voted on it. And long story short, people are getting worried about it. They did not close it yet, but they are talking about it. So that is the worst case scenario. We've talked about it many times on this channel, and now we're about to see what happens with all of it. So I got a little weekend recap for all of you. There's definitely a lot of different things that we're going to go over. A couple of plays, a couple of ideas. I even have some pretty pictures as well too, baby. Oh, and then we'll see where the futures are. So my recap people, you're going to have to deal with me a little bit. And then again, we're going to do the watch list. And if anything goes crazy, I'll go live again. So then we'll see what happens. Otherwise, we could get it all out the way. At least you could get some rest before a crazy week. What's going on, Mr. Whitman? Oh, Luke, 3CJ, Brian Fierros, Anthony. Oh, what up, Don Fraud? 20 minutes. It's been longer than that, my friend. What's going on? Johnny Stallings, Christian, Ian, Micah, Daniel, Johnny. Oh, good evening, baby. What up, Mr. Edwards? What up, Squash? Are you ready? Dude, this is crazy. This is crazy. Bro, they straight lie. They say, we'll make our decision in 2 weeks. Actually, it was Operation Lie to the People. It was part of our plan to lie to you and then swiftly, in the night, get rid of all of the targets. I was like, what? The fuck? So, yeah, man, we got a lot of things that we got to talk about. So, Chatadonia, I hope you're ready for all of it. But again, futures are going to open in like 30 minutes. So, we'll see what happens. But right off the bat, let's talk a little bit about this week. So besides this Iran thing, which is now going to be a big issue, besides that, you would have had PMIs tomorrow, and that's going to be good in terms of like hard data. Remember, soft data, hard data, the PMIs are actually pretty important. So you're going to get that data this week, and then you're going to get the Fed's favorite inflation gauge of PCE. So we'll see where that leads us, but now this Iran thing is a big topic. So let me give you the fun facts. I don't know if we're going to have time for it. We'll see where I have like a history lesson if you guys need it. And don't let it distract you from the big, beautiful bill. I agree, because that is coming up. And they're about to, well, maybe you might need a big, beautiful bill if we're about to enter into a war. What is this? So it's crazy, though. A lot of people on Wall Street are already saying that the worst is behind us. I've already heard that a couple times. So that's interesting. But long story short, I don't know if we're going to get into the history lesson, but why is this such a big deal? From day one, we've always discussed oil and energy. So if you are not familiar, Iran produces 3.5% of all global energy production. They export a little bit more than half of that, and about 20% of gas, crude oil, and even natural gas, it goes through the Strait of Hormuz. That's why if anything goes on, if they are willing to go to that extent, if we start getting really crazy things happening, then about 1/5 of the oil in the world and how it gets transported, that will be disrupted and affected. So the fact that the U.S. got involved, they destroyed the facilities, Iran is already, they've been saying they got surprises, and now it's kind of escalating to a certain degree. That's why all of this is on the table. Now, don't forget what we talked about last week. Even though it's summer and there's a lot going on, or just because it is summer, you might get a lot of volatility, but it might be in oil. So I don't know how this is going to affect equities. They were kind of already a little wobbly ahead of this, so you might get a little bit of a move. But when it's all said and done, remember how this is all playing out. It's primarily going to affect energy and oil, and then depending on the outcome, we could go a lot of ways from here. So this is what I want you guys really familiar with, is that you're going to hear about this a lot. Depending on whether it dies down or escalates even further, you are going to hear various things. Again, we'll figure out where the S&P will go. I don't think that's the main concern right now. It'll figure its thing out. Really, oil and energy, where that ends up, that is really what you want to pay attention to. And it really depends on the dynamics of this conflict and how it affects oil. I will tell you right now, you are already watching people on Wall Street. They are willing to write this event off. So that's just at a pure, like, okay, it's priced in type B. And again, oil has already ran up about 30% on the month already leading into this. So it's not like there wasn't risk premium already attached to oil. You got to keep that in mind. But here is the deal. Think a couple weeks down the line, maybe a couple months. Yeah, this could be bad. Maybe we get a little bit of conflict. Oil goes crazy, but what happens if OPEC is like, okay, Donald, we will step in and help you, huh? It's okay, but you give us Ukraine, how about that? And they start playing that game, and then you attach all the other political issues. But long story short, you may get a shock in oil, but then if United States or OPEC steps up and they start increasing production, that may kind of keep things not back to where they were, but that'll stop you from going 100 and above and everybody freaking out. So that's one outcome. That's what I'm saying. That is one of the dynamics that is at play right now. The other one, Strait of Hormuz. They're already talking about it, threatening it. Everybody's already worried about it, but now that's on the table both politically in Iran, but then you also have to keep in mind, what if there is an attack? What if the Houthis, what if anything, they start putting mines, people start getting worried. There's already people on Twitter, they're showing ships turning around and all of that. So you got to think about it. A decent amount of oil, a third or a fifth of the travel, and again, 3.5% of just all global oil production, that is at threat here if we start to get a long drawn out escalation. And now the next step, yeah, U.S. got involved. What is Netanyahu going to keep going, or does the Bible say to keep going? I don't know what he's going to be reading next. Do they start attacking energy infrastructure in Iran? Does Iran start to escalate, attack United States bases, and really draw us in? There's 1,000 different ways that this could start to play out. So do you see what I'm saying here? We'll figure out where the S&P is going to go, because when it's all said and done, and I guess it leads into the final key, if we get a big disruption that leads to higher oil prices, and depending on how long both the conflict and the higher oil prices last, then it starts to play out in the economy. Then you start to see energy affect businesses, change recession odds, then people change the dynamics of what's produced, and then before you know, even employment. And a long story short, a lot of things change as we get either dragged into a war or not. But many times, and a lot of people are already kind of hoping it's a self-fulfilling prophecy and saying it'll be done. So we'll see. But this has been a long, drawn-out conflict, and I don't know, man. This could go either way, and to put it bluntly, I think the first Iranian revolution, it was one of the fastest, and it took 4 months, I believe, at the time. So this has kind of been like a slow and fast development, and it could go either way. So when it's all said and done, it will eventually have its impact on the economy and the stock market, but that is going to depend on now what happens to oil and energy. And then that all depends on really what happens here, again, with the United States. What does Iran do? What does everybody else do? It's ironically enough, you have a NATO summit this week. That is one of the other scheduled events. So we'll see where it all leads us, Chattadonia. But this week was only going to be the data, but now you got like 4 or 5 different ways that the road could turn. That's why, again, it's going to be a wild one. I'm hoping by the time I finish this watch list and we get prepared for the week, we'll see where the futures are at, because, again, things were kind of chill and you were playing that stop and go dynamic. So that being said, it will be a wild one. And because I think we have some good plays to go over, let me see what pretty pictures I have for you. So we talked about people covering, let's start with this one. So, long story short, gas. So this is the maybe the second or third level to which the conflict starts to really affect you. And what I mean by that is essentially, like I'm saying here, we don't know what is going to happen to energy and oil because we don't know what Iran, Israel, the United States, we don't know what they're going to end up doing. So depending on the outcome, that'll lead into oil and energy, and then that'll eventually start to impact the economy and consumer. But a lot of people are saying, this is why I think Wall Street is trying to say, no, the worst is behind us. A lot of people are trying to, assume that they're like, well, no, I trust Donald Trump. And people are trying to assume a lot because end of the day, you just don't want gas prices to go up. That's like the third or fourth level. Like I'm telling you, you'll get to that economic effect. But if this is going to become a concern here, this is one of those things. Look at rates, look at everything going on. If we get whatever the reason, especially a conflict, but you bring oil prices up to 100 and above, it's not going to be a good thing if that lasts for a long time, especially if the government and everybody is trying to, again, smash home another wickedly large spending bill. But long story short, keep your eyes on gasoline prices because, call it political, maybe CNN will bring it up, but this is eventually, as it fluctuates, this might eventually be a pressure point. So watch out for that and see how that guides things. That's number one. Number two, this one's interesting, and this is going to lead to one of the plays, so I don't want to show you it yet, but actually I got two things. Let me show you this one first, and this will lead to it. But do you realize this chart is showing you foreign investors buying the poop out of the United States stocks and assets? Okay, my friends? So that being said, why this is so important, because this is where people have been saying they are emotionally bearish, but they are physically still buying. So whatever dollar narratives, America, exuberance, failure, whatever you want to call it, whichever one you believe, long story short, you're breaking records in terms of foreign investors acquiring U.S. assets. So yeah, exactly, kind of like the hard data versus the soft data. So coming into this, that dynamic, emerging markets, and even how this all plays out, people are worried and stuff, but make no mistake, bro. And, bombs going off in all of this in the world seems like a wild place, but they are, people are putting their money to assets and even gold, that whether they're worried or confident in the fails or advances of their governments and economies as a whole. So very fascinating, but that is the second pretty picture. And now this is, before we get into the plays, I think this will be key. This one, man, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. You know why? Because this is something we've talked about. I was telling you, bro. So it's good, man. I already got a tan. I was just streaming. I just took a little vacay, bro. I hope you guys are ready. Do you know what this is showing you? What is this chart? I'm not even going to tell you. You got to tell me. Happy Sunday. I hope you know you're blessed. Oh, yeah. Breathe a little bit, baby. Enjoy life. Life has blessed you. What is this? What are you looking at? You're looking at two charts comparing the time frame. Not Bitcoin. No Bitcoin. No Michael Saylor around here. Hey, Michael Saylor. Who's your Michael Saylor? Get it? I lost my teeth. No? Okay. I guess the Bitcoin's worth more. Under position Wall Street. Kinda. You're getting there. You're getting there. You're close. You're close. You're in the neighborhood. Ooh, SPY not over levered. No. Oh, Wall Street. How so bearish? Oh, this one's fascinating. Not Eco 8, but Eco 8's fascinating. You want me to just give it to you? You want me to not hold in the surprise? Undervalued, retail, hedge, oil. No, I do have an oil chart for you, though. Long, short, close. Overall book value, close. No, kinda. Well, this is just pretty much showing you different Wall Street strategies and comparing their positioning now to last summer. Howard, tell us, what does this mean? Get the crypto. So it has nothing to do with crypto, but it's essentially showing you how Wall Street is about like 15% under positioned compared to last summer. So by this time last summer, they definitely had a little bit more on their books in terms of what they were owning. So whether it's because they're scared, maybe because they're worried, they missed out, Wall Street is already not involved this summer, and I'm already expecting Chop City and a slow summer. That's why it's going to be interesting with war volatility and all that, but here we are. So that was your second one. I was going to show you this oil one. Even though USO and I showed you those other records getting broken last week, you did have just an energy and all sorts of energy. It's like the biggest inflow since October 23. So this is where let's see what tomorrow does, because pretty much up until the United States has dropped the bomb on, Fordo and all these Iranian nuclear facilities, that's a big escalation. Oil was already breaking going back to 2023, right? So now let's see if this really was escalatory, because now it'll pretty much break that record. So now we'll see if we go back to, and what record I'm talking about. Let's see, actually, what do you think I'm talking about? So if I'm showing you this chart, energy inflows, and we're saying if this really was a real escalation, what should you be looking out? Well, what past event should we compare this to? You want to see energy flows that compare to what other event that we recently went through? Do 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 get a long term. Okay, you're close. October 23rd is important because that was a couple of weeks after Israel. So in October 7th. So that is one event, and that's where like gold bottomed out at that like high level, if you guys recall. But now, what's the other one? Russia and Ukraine. Exactly. So pretty much those are your two events that you want to compare it to. And then Russia, Ukraine, remember that really this is why I said it a week or two ago. I said, listen, I support Donald Trump, but my guy, I ain't going to let you call it the Iranian increase. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to let you call it the BB price hike, because what happened? Last time they printed a shit ton of money and they threw it on the American public and devalued everybody's savings and assets. What happened? We got into another conflict, and then energy and oil was rocketing up, and then what did they say? They said blame it on the war. So I don't know if we could do that again. So that is your past event, but if you start to see energy go crazy to that, then you really start to know, we're kind of really starting to change. So we'll see how that all plays out, but I thought that was very fascinating. But now, let us get into the plays. So, right off the bat, I think it's pretty easy for tomorrow. Okay, or all week. I've been saying it, actually. I remember pretty vividly on Friday, open face towards the end of the day, he was asking me about oil, and I was telling you guys, I just got my debit spreads. I said I'm pretty much going to hold them. I'm not really counting on too much volatility in the S&P. I'm not really going to care about the S&P this summer. I'll be shopping for individual deals for the long term. We'll see what happens, but I think oil and energy, that's where all of the attention is going to be on this. But I had these debit spreads, so what I did right when the conflict started, I bought debit spreads on USO. I got a little bit of time, and again, none of this is a recommendation. This is, again, especially with the oil plays, right when the conflict stops, you're going to get wiped out. And think about it, a lot of people are going to be under position because you see how emotional people are. Last week, you saw oil go 10, 20%, then come back down, and then even though bombs are dropping, but it's not like a new development, everyone says, no, it's old, and then it goes down. So it's not an easy game. Believe me, the best thing you should do in this moment, and God willing, we'll see if this opportunity gives you something to get like a really good pickup for the long term. That's great, but oil volatility, you're not going to know the effect on the economy and all that till later, like we have talked about already. So if you do want to play it, be very, very careful. Again, the plays have already gone up a lot, and that's why I did debit spreads. I pretty much used the oil volatility. You short the out of the monies, buy the near the money ones, and then that allows you to have a defined risk play. And pretty much I did a bunch of plays with like out till like most of summer, and it was like 20-30 bucks a pop with like 10 times upside. Otherwise you'll lose whatever you pay for, but you know the risk on there, and it allows you to play these oil plays without it being that crazy. The other play, and you're going to see a lot of these, it's going to be those shitty oil plays. We've done them in the past, like what, Husa. There's another one that starts with an I, Indo, Husa. So essentially these just go crazy once there's like oil going nuts. So that will last for a little bit, but then pretty much the days there's like no news, it's going to get wrecked. And then oil will still be elevated, and then those small caps will come down. So just be careful, play at your own risk if that is your cup of tea. But essentially, like I'm saying, we'll see what the SPY does, even American oil companies. But when it's all said and done, dude, all that really matters is, oil. Again, and what we actually get with this conflict, where it leads, and the ultimate, where does oil and energy prices settle? Do we end up having problems with that? Because that will lead into the economy. So if anything, you're going to hear a lot of these plays this week, or I'm sure every day. You're probably going to be shocked. I'm sure we'll break an oil record depending on what type of vibe we get. Again, we'll see where futures futures open up in 8 minutes, so we'll find out in a little bit. But that is play number one. Watch out for that. Then play number two, my friends, the dollar. So I do have an accompanying chart, and we talked about this last week, but I like this idea, but I'm kind of nervous. I really don't know, bro. I genuinely do not know what is going to happen with it, because Wall Street is really bearish on the dollar. Even Michael Wilson, I like the guy. I love a lot of his ideas. He's like super bearish on the dollar. And I get it. There's a lot of reasons after, we went from American exuberance, and exceptionalism to watching that fade in the conflict. Like, that makes sense. And there's a lot of other things, but yeah, a lot of people are bearish on it. But like we were talking about last week, bro, if you have a regime shift, a long drawn out Middle Eastern conflict, and there truly is another like Middle Eastern problem, usually the dollar rallies. When we're talking real problem, not like, social media problems, not like problems that are here today, gone tomorrow. Like, we're talking, again, a revolution. You're talking about a real change. Like, again, the U.S. is getting involved, like Strait of Hormuz. Like, we're talking like real intense stuff, real flight to safety. Like, call it what you want. Money's just going to move around. And yeah, and then they're going to have to move it to the dollar. So I think that strong dollar theory is still in play. I think I grabbed a play last week. I think I grabbed a small one, but I'm not the biggest fan. Or did I shop for him? Yeah, I shopped. I don't think I grabbed them, though. So it was kind of hard to find one, but I did grab the oil ones. But either way, just watch out for it. Like I'm saying, and I hope you could get my sentiment. I think the information is top tier because, like I'm saying, Wall Street is shorting the dollar. A lot of people are under position, and there's rightfully so. But you got to watch out for it. Now, this one I'm not ready yet, but this was a big deal over the weekend. And just keep in mind, like, if shit is going to hit the fan, that there's a lot of upside on the dollar, and there's a play there that I think a lot of people are going to be caught off guard. But I don't. It's hard to play, and I just don't know if it's like really there yet. And you have a lot of headwinds fighting against it. So I thought that was interesting, but watch out for that. And then where is the chart? So yeah, so over the weekend, and this was before the attack. Ironically enough, Bank of America, Michael Wilson, they were talking about, usually when the dollar weakens, it goes down 20 to 40%. So remember I was sharing with you guys last week, Morgan Stanley, and they were talking about, gold is able to go up 10% if the dollar goes down 10%. And a lot of people are putting out this idea that, when the dollar really goes down, since 1967, the average like bear market is like 20 to 40%. It's not small. So right now you dropped about, I think, like 10% or so, 15 maybe, but you're nowhere close to anything. So Bretton Woods, Paris Accord, 9/11, China deval. This was my China deval. That was when I made a shit ton of money on the first move, if you guys remember. And then COVID, the dollar actually strengthened before anything. So keep that in mind. And this is something because, like I put here now on the play, wherever bond yields end up at after all of this, the dollar and then oil prices, Yeah, dude, they go hand in hand, and wherever that ends up, that is going to say a lot. So we'll see what happens. But if shit really does hit the fan, I think strong dollar plays. There's an opportunity there. But like I'm saying, I'm not too confident with it. But if I were you, I'd understand this. I'd understand the logic, because if in real time, if it does happen, you will be prepared. You know what I'm saying? If something's there, just know UUP, the dollar, any other, or again, even shorting the pound or other things. Those are all areas you could go to. But like I'm saying, it really does depend on the dynamic of this conflict and how all of this stuff plays out. So watch out for that. That is play number 2. And then finally, play number 3, baby, defense. So this one's, again, I think this whole watch list is pretty easy. Oil, dollar, defense. It should make sense why the United States literally just fucking used their B-52s. But either way, defense stocks, there's going to be a lot of pop and drops, kind of like the small cap oil plays. But I think you really had a crash course on it last week. You see how the premiums could go up. You can make money, but then they could like stall out. Or if there's no development, it'll chill. And then the premiums will go very, very, you know, when there's news and people get scared, the premiums, they'll charge you 10 times as much, and then it'll chill out. So again, there's a rule I told you guys with defense stocks. It was during Ukraine and even recently, but there's a rule you should do when buying in conflict and going through this. There is kind of a rule of thumb. Like, let's say you want to play RTX LMT. What should you do on defense names in the middle of conflict? Do 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 get a long term. Hey, happy holidays! By saving 10% and getting a long term, I now have a down payment. Too bad I'm getting drafted for World War III. Thanks, Donald. What the fuck? Donald. Yeah. So yeah, just only buy when it's a red day. Or only buy when the premium's down. That's it. So if bombs are flying, you want to play a volatility play, you can chase. I'm not going to lie to you. I've chased plays sometimes during conflict, and if it really escalates heavily, chasing will work sometimes. But you know, if it's really slow and you have time, like you see it, like think about it. You had all of Friday to make plays. But no one knew this was going to happen. So like I'm saying, though, just if you are going to try to get involved in some of these, make sure you're not paying the crazy war premium at the time and buy them after the premiums chill out. Because a lot of times oil defense names, they'll stay elevated. But since now they're not moving in that scary fashion for a couple of hours, the premiums will literally go down in half. So we'll see how it all plays out. But other than that, I think we are going to be very well positioned. And Chad, are you ready? Futures are about to open up, my friends. We have about 40 seconds till futures open. Do 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 do. Get a long term. Oh yeah, dude. Chad, do you want me to tell you? So God is good, baby. God willing. U.S. anticipating attacks on military bases. That's no good, Habibi. My guess is I think we're gonna be down about like 1 to 1.5. Maybe more. People were leaning more, but I'm gonna take the under, because some people are ridiculously bullish, and I think oil will be up 4 or maybe 3.5. Let's see. But then again, yeah, let's see. Oh yeah, you're down by 0.8. Oil up 5.4. Not bad. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I hit, baby. I hit. So yeah, the under. So S&P down by 0.8. That's actually not bad at all. Oil gapped up 5%. So yeah, it was just up a little bit more. So I was a little off on oil, but at least it was higher than 4. Which is crazy. I was kind of timid to say a little bit more than 4, because again, there was already risk premium tied into oil. It's not like fucking oil hasn't moved in all of this. So yeah, oil right now in the futures, they just opened up, hit 78.40, and now it's at 76.91. So it's gonna balance out a little bit in real time. It's already chilled out, but yeah, it just all depends on the follow-up, but kind of according to plan. I think, like I'm saying, equities only 0.5% now. So we'll see where it all ends up. I'm sure by the time we go to bed and wake up, it'll be crazy. But yeah, $80 is a huge level. And really, I mean, people were thinking like low 90s if you were attacking Iranian like oil infrastructure. That's the weird part about this, is that we only attacked the nuclear stuff. For now, Israel and Iran, like infrastructure, refineries, the Strait hasn't been touched. That's why it was weird when their parliament brought up the Strait of Hormuz stuff and them saying that they wanted to vote on it. They did not close it, but they did say that they wanted to, they're kind of bringing it into the discussion. I really thought that part was interesting. So there's that. But, oh, yeah, where is gold, dude? Gold's going to, remember, gold in the Middle East conference, gold 0.45. So, but then gold is going to be crazy because gold is going up with the dollar, bro. Imagine that. And like I'm saying, I do think the dollar is going to be up a lot. Silver. Man, honestly, not too bad, though, for real. For the fact, like, this says a lot. Like, dude, you could have, if this was another time or if this was, like, a more escalatory, insane conflict, like, you could have been down, like, 3%. Like I'm saying, some people were saying we were going to open up 172%. I was thinking at least like you could have made sense, but this isn't that bad. And then oil, like I'm saying, 76. We've been here without a conflict, but it's still pretty elevated. But generally not bad. I'm actually pretty surprised. So, but like I'm saying, like we talked about, if you guys are just coming here, you could go back. I think this watch list will even help you all week. Because it really does depend on the dynamics of the conflict. Again, there's many ways it could go for how long it lasts. Does OPEC start to pump more? Do we get the Strait of Hormuz? Is there different targets and areas attacked? This could go in various ways. So we'll see. But for now, I think first move is not bad at all. It could have been a lot more volatile, and it does even highlight the theme of, again, more energy, oil, commodity volatility, and then not as much there on equities, because equities 0.5%. So, yalla. You want DVR for all of the watch lists for the live ones? I mean, we could probably do that, yeah, because I guess you're not going to miss anything, right? Because it's not like it's live news and you'll fall behind. I'm down. It does depend on Iran's response, yes. And, I mean, a lot of other people, too. I mean, people have already got involved. People have already said their piece. But essentially, it does depend on Iran and what they do. And even Israel. Like, does this satisfy Israel? Or is Israel going to want to do more? Like, that's the crazy part. So, again, people are just even reporting now that Iranians or even Iranian people, sympathizers, maybe they'll even deny it. But what if they start attacking U.S. bases? This is very, very wild. It could go absolutely in any direction. But at the end of the day, it's like what actually happens and how long this actually happens for, that's where we start to again, the real question. And there's way more questions of life and morality and other things. But when it's all said and done, I mean, where and when does this affect the economy? So, and that's kind of what we're looking for. But it's fascinating, bro. Even then, the Iran stuff, I don't know, a lot of people are there. Like, I feel like a lot of people, this is all tied to back in the day. I don't know how to, I really don't know how to explain. Like, this is so historical in a way where it's just like, this is all the same stuff. If you really like this, again, and just like even, that's why I said, I brought it up earlier in the video, the first Iranian revolution came out of nowhere. And it, not really, but it like, there was a lot of seeds planted, but then it happened in 4 months. That's where it's just like, before you knew it, one thing led to another. That's how this is feeling, but obviously it's way different. There's different sentiment, there's different things at stake, but just in the sense of how it's like one domino after the next. That's where I'm absolutely shocked by it. So, it's there. No, my views on Trump haven't changed for it. I want to see where this all ends up, because I really think Iran is just weak. It's Israel did all the work, and I don't know if you supported that or not. And don't forget, Israel is the one that took out everybody. And then I think it was very easy for Trump to say yes, because Iran was already that weak. But I am worried if Donald Trump becomes George W. Trump. And there's always a risk of that. I don't care if it's his choice, he gets dragged into it. I don't know if Netanyahu lied to him. I don't know what it may be, but if he gets dragged into a war and becomes, Donald W. Bush or George W. Trump, that's the risk. Again, with everything, with energy down to the economy, and then just whatever happens in the Middle East. So, and a lot of people like myself, and that, because that's why you're probably asking the question, a lot of people on the Trump base, they didn't want war, and a lot of people voted for this idea of war. So this is only 6 months in, and I acknowledge the fact that Trump, it's not like he came in with a clean slate. It's not like that's what I'm saying. It's not like the Middle East already had peace to begin with. But at the end of the day, I really think this is all connected. I'm sure. I don't know. Was Donald Trump friends with the Shah? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this goes back to the damn 70s, my brothers. This is actually wild. But now I don't know if there's it's just weird. It's like there's no leading party. There is no revolution. That's why the people calling for regime change, it's very, very interesting. But the dynamic of how this is all built up, this is years and years in the making. So, but now now we're about to see is Iran about to do all of this shit that they said they would do for a long time? Again, from the Strait of Hormuz all the way down to just actually, because again, are they going to make more friends or make more enemies? And then what ends up happening to the economy? But for now, bro, this is this could go in either direction. I will tell you this: everybody's already wants an answer. Everybody's already trying to write it off or say it's going to be World War III. And even like Trump, and you're free to form your own opinion, and I encourage you to. But everything's very early right now. So this could still go in many, many directions. Like I'm saying, if you're not familiar with Iran, go watch a documentary. It's very interesting. But, things in the Middle East, they take time. And sometimes the littlest things turn into the biggest, or the biggest things end up being nothing. So this could go in various directions. And it's going to be a very interesting summer, my friends. So, yeah, we will see. China and Russia. Yeah, they could. And that would be the problem. And then that's why I said that ironic part, you actually have a NATO summit here now. But then there is some people, you wipe Iran that's why I think Trump did it. I think they lied to Trump in a sense of but I just think the risk to reward had to be insane, because they already clapped Iran, and I think they were just willing to just knock it out. And there's some people that they may oppose how Trump did it, but they would benefit off of more security from Iran. So it's a very interesting one, just how this all played out. Even the deception, they literally even admitted that they lied to the public. I don't know if you guys remember on Friday. We came in and he played the 2-week card, and dude, the Iranians fell for it, bro. I'm telling you, the Iranians actually fell for it. I think everybody fell for it. I did. And everybody thought it was going to be slow, and then they literally executed the attack, bro. Everybody knew the bombers were there. There was Instagram videos. Everybody was like, oh, look, the bombers, the Freedom Dorito. And everybody was making jokes, and people knew the planes were there, but they were like, oh yeah, it's for people thought it was just they're like, oh, it's a show of force. And then they sent another group of ships or flyers or what is it called? The Freedom Dorito. I like Freedom Dorito. Yeah. And then it's just crazy because everybody knew, but they just said, nah, we're not going to do anything. It's just, we'll be there. And then they did it. So, yeah, that's why exactly I was going to say. I didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but is this now a good time to talk about the taco? Is this what kind of taco is this? Where you lie to everybody and then bunker bust fucking Iran? Is that's not mother ever? How many of you would do that? You chicken? What are you talking about? That's what I'm saying. I don't know if I agree or disagree. It all depends on the consequences. But whatever, making that decision definitely required some gall. You had to have. I don't think a chicken made that decision. So, yeah. But then again, maybe someone else made the decision. Oh? But yeah, bro, kind of crazy. It's all, dude, just crazy developments. It all just depends what happens with Iran, man. Telling you, does this lead to more conflict? Does everybody kind of chill out after this, and that's what everybody wants, or does this lead to, like, the next saga of Iran? Like, I'm telling you, the Iranian Republic, or the Islamic Republic of Iran, dude, it's crazy. A lot of people don't know how Iran actually, like, dude, the history is crazy. Do you guys know the Shah owned like 25% of Mercedes? I told you, I have an old video on this. Like, you guys know you have a G-Wagon because of the Shah of Iran. He owned a big portion of Mercedes at the time, and then he commissioned Mercedes to build a custom Mercedes SUV, the G-Class, and he ordered 20,000 of them, and that is what created the G-Wagon eventually. He owned part of General Motors in Iran. Bro, what is it? I don't know. I was going to save it for you. I have a history lesson because there's even a company, not Sadat, that's Egypt. Setad. Yeah, go look it up. Setad. Setad. That's where all the money's at now. And it's actually owned by Khomeini, the new guy. So the guy right now who's already in power, they control these assets. If you don't, the Setad, it's crazy. So all of the Shah's wealth, they took it over eventually, and his wealth is insane if you didn't know it. This was before the Iranian Revolution, and that's what I'm saying. Before the Iranian Revolution, it was Iran. Then it became the Islamic Republic of Iran after that, and then Khomeini, that's who started. Again, it's confusing because there's Khomeini and Khamenei. Khamenei is the new guy. Khomeini is the OG revolutionary figure who got rid of the Shah. So you see, it gets pretty intense. The names are similar and all of that. But long story short, man, it is the dude, all that money and wealth and beyond just the energy, like I'm telling you, 3.5%. They literally, the Setad, they're controlling. I think nobody knows. It's all secret. But I think the last like Reuters report was like at maybe 15 years ago, it was like 100 billion. So by now it's maybe $500 billion, maybe $400 billion. And that would have been the Shah's wealth. It got taken over by Khamenei and everybody else after they took everything. It was crazy, bro. I'm telling you, the whole history of all of it is very, very intense. I don't know. Well, we'll save it because I got a little basic one, or you guys could watch some videos. But yeah, it's just a lot. That's why I'm like, dude. And again, the conflicts, Iran and Israel, and it wasn't like Iran and Israel, they weren't beefing too much in the 70s, not as much. But then after you got the Islam Republic, then it started to change that course of action. So you're gonna see this is like a log standing, like what has gone on in Iran. It's truly fascinating. That's why I don't know what is gonna happen. I don't know, and you got to realize, like, the fact that even the Iranian Revolution happened, people never thought that would happen. Because before the revolution, Iran was like, it was one of the oldest, like, was a constitutional monarch. It was one of the oldest societies, and it was crazy, all of the stuff that they were doing. But that's why this idea, Khomeini, the original guy, when he was like, yeah, we want a fully Islamic government and turn, Iran, this place that wasn't fully religious at the time, he was like, yeah, we're going to turn it. Oh, I dropped my drink. We're going to turn this into a Islamic government. People at the time were like, yeah, no way you'll do that in OG Persia. They're like, that's impossible. They're like, there's no way. And then sure enough, it actually happened. The impossible. So I don't know. If anything, Iran is a place many, many times where the impossible has happened. You never know. That's the best thing. That's the best thing I could give you to sum up all of this. And that's why I'm saying it's like all tied in, because it's all tied into this is the current regime and government in place from the fall of the Shah. It's the same stuff. Khomeini had one guy before him, but he's essentially the successor. So that's what I'm saying. Wherever this goes from here, this is the next saga. From it went Reza Khan, and then Shah. Reza was his dad, and then now you have the Islam Republic. And then does it continue? Does it end? Where does it go? What happens? So yeah, that's where you're at, right? That's what all of this is in real time. Ain't that crazy, bro? Welcome. Any documentaries? I don't. Let me see if I could find you a name. But just look it up. Any of the history. There's a lot of YouTube videos. Maybe even like shorts, or if you like reading, quick little Wikipedia rundown of just some of the leaders. Like I'm saying, the names are kind of confusing. They're all sound the same. Like there's Khomeini and Khamenei, and then where was remember Soleimani? He's the guy that Trump killed. His predecessor was named like Salum. They all just keep. I'm like, man, why y'all got the same name? No, Khomeini. Yeah, no. They say Khamenei is the new guy, and he's old. And Khomeini was the guy who started the revolution. It's actually, dude, it's crazy. Khomeini. Do you know what happened? So during the Shah's time, Khomeini, it first started with Khomeini writing. He wrote like this crazy article about how the government should be Islamic. And he was writing all these like crazy, at the time it was considered crazy because they censored him. So Khomeini was censored. And this guy just stayed in his hometown. He wasn't in a cave, but he would just stay in his hometown. He would read his book and just stay in his hometown and just study religious theory. People would come by and listen to him, but he would just tell them stuff, and then that's it. And then they silenced him. They banned his books. And then like 10, 15 years later, the exile is what kicked off the revolution. It's actually crazy. But he essentially started, and people, even the wealth of the Shah would increase. He was really wealthy, but then the people started to even get poor. And like a couple series of events, they started calling for the end of the Shah. And then Khomeini, again, this guy who was already banned, and brought up this idea of, again, like the clergy and them going back to, a highly religious ruled, again, an Islamic republic. Khomeini had this idea, and then essentially he started calling for it, and they like made him the figure. He was like the head revolutionary figure of it. He actually didn't really do much. He was only in power for like 10 years. Like Khamenei has done a lot more in terms of implementation of the government and actually implementing the vision. Khomeini was just the revolutionary guy who said down with the Shah, brought up these ideas, wrote out the theory, and then he eventually, this is where it gets very interesting, because at the time, the Shah could have killed him. The Shah arrested him, and then they exiled him to Iraq, where instead of killing him at the time, and then they brought him back, and then he went to like Paris. Again, there's a lot of events. I'm hella paraphrasing, but then there was one moment. It was in between. This was as the revolution was happening. He went to Paris, and he was calling for the down of the Shah, and he went to Paris, and they thought the Shah was hoping it was going to be him running away, and that people would have, he would have been looked at him running with his tail between his legs. But instead, he never brought up his like extreme article that was censored. He never brought it up in the interview. But then he started doing interviews with the French, and then all of his followers from Islam all around the world, they visit him in France. So again, this all connects to today. And if you ever wonder about the influence and all, it all connects. So again, Khomeini, the OG Iranian Revolution, he went to France, Paris, and then and then instead of it becoming this like, oh, he was defeated by the Shah, they all rallied to get around this fool. That's why I was saying he became the revolutionary head. And then he started doing these interviews, bro, with like Times Magazine in the West. And essentially, he was like, I hate to break it to you, he was like one of the first people to like use like social justice. Like, like the West liked him. They didn't like him, but they were very impressed with him by the end of it. He never brought up the extreme stuff. He was saying how the Shah, he was bringing up all these social justice and talking about returning to the people, kind of like what you saw with Afghanistan. No, we'll give this, we'll give women's rights even if they're going to take them all away. He did all of this stuff, and it ended up actually working. Because when he was in Paris then, he was viewed as like this, and then at that point, the Shah left. Things were going bad, and then Khomeini flew in. They didn't shoot him, and then that's where they started putting the flowers in the guns. You know that picture, that imagery? Yeah, that's the Iranian Revolution, and then Khomeini came in, And then that's it. They got rid of the Shah. He never returned. And then Khomeini led for like 10 years, passed away. There was an interim guy. This is where it gets weird. And then Khomeini, the guy now, that's where he came in. They literally have the same fucking name. One letter off. Khomeini is the OG. Khomeini is the new guy now. So, yeah, but it's a wild story, bro. That's why I'm telling you how all of this, even the Europe Islamic influence, all of it is tied into this, bro. This isn't like none of this is like new. None of this is like random. It's kind of random, but it's just so connected. And how things have played and what you've seen. That's why like how it'll play in the modern day. Like I don't know, because like I'm saying, at some point the Iranians pulled like the social justice card back in the day. That helped them a lot. I don't know how that'll work today, because like yeah, people are very with Trump and other things, it's going to play out a little different. But then you see Israel and Palestine conflict already affecting people's sentiments and perceptions too. So it's a wild one. That's why I'm saying with all of this, don't make up your mind just yet. You know what I'm saying? Do not make up your mind yet, because we'll see where this goes. But energy and all of that's what's important. And then by the end of this, you should be asking yourself, is this the same, imagine the story I just told you of Iran. Does this continue or not? Is again, Khomeini, this guy is carrying the torch from the Iranian Revolution. Does this continue to go on and they operate like that, or do we watch another change? And that is the next step throughout all of this. So other than that, though, I think futures have taken it well. That was a great topic. I hope you guys are ready for this week. So we'll be here and ready for all of it. But on that note, do you have any questions? Now is your time. Otherwise, we might have to depart, my friends. It's a person. Yeah, it's person. Yeah, it's person. Yeah. The calm music. I like the calm music. Yeah, the Shah did want to modernize. He did modernize it. Tehran became very modern. But then modernism is just, unfortunately, for certain people, and just by default, it's associated with Westernism. You know what I'm saying? You can't really modernize anything without making it Western. And that's where, but then again, during that time, the Shah was like fighting communism and feudalism and all this other stuff. That's why he turned to religion. That's why they have this thing where it was like both secular and Islamic at the time, because the Shah was using religion as defense, but then it ended up backfiring, and then the religious people took over. So that's essentially what ended up happening with all of it. The market doesn't believe Hormuz. Yeah, well, that's what I said in the morning. Everybody tagged me in that, and it sounded bad. They're like Parliament of Iran voted, but nothing happened. They're not closing it yet. Couple of ships turned around, but we'll see. Either a lot of people are trying to write this off, though. I saw Dan Ives. He was like, yeah, the worst is behind us now. I'm like, I don't know, but we will see. It's summer. It's going to be slow. You guys just be patient, and I'm telling you. And like I'm saying, time, debit spreads, just get good plays with time and keep it cheap, but all of it's going to be on energy. So, no, man. You think oil can remain elevated? Could, but it depends on factors like the economy, production, and these conflicts and transport. So it could be at a higher price, but if it gets more elevated, that's not good. But if it starts to get like extreme and gets really elevated and stays there for a long time, then it's really going to be detrimental for the economy. And that is where we start to really look at this conflict, but that's like 3-4 steps down the line. It wouldn't be that easy. Real life lore, upload Iran history. Yeah, there's some, even like the stuff back in the day, bro. There's some good ones, like even with like vloggers used to go to Iran, and you would just see their videos. It's crazy, man. There's a lot on Iran. Just a lot of people don't know it. Even like Israel. Like, do you guys know Israel? You guys want to pop quiz on Israel? Do you know Israel is like a modern nation, right? Do you know when Israel was formed as like a country? Like the statehood of Israel? I asked this to like 5 people and they had no idea. Yeah, 1948. So Israel wasn't a state until 1948. It wasn't until after World War II that Israel became a country. You know, Israel, like, there was Israel, and you have Israelis, and you have the Jewish people, but yeah, the country Israel is 1948. That's when it was the statehood. That is when the state of Israel was brought up. And then that's afterwards, that's where you started getting this. So think about it, 1948, and then even by the 70s, 30 years later, you know, they've gotten into all of these different conflicts, and then the neighbors, and then now you see where we're at now. But yeah, they haven't even done 100 years, you know, but as a state. So ta-da! Am I allowed to talk about this? I don't know. We'll find out. But at least I'm clear, and I have no more channel strikes, and I think it's educational. I mean, I'm just giving you guys a history lesson of the Middle East. That's all I've done this video, so I don't think my intention wasn't to break any rules, just to inform you guys. So we'll see, but either way, I think we're gonna have a wild week, and we'll see where we go from there. Yeah, and you could look this stuff up on your own too, learn about it. You guys know I'm Middle Eastern, right? Habibi, and you know and the Kalam Arabi, shoya, Habibi. Iran will be worse than Iraq. Well, I can't say that now, you know, but it kind of, like, in a weird way, like I said, if he turns into Donald W. Bush, man, that'll be crazy, because, and if they're like, oh, nuclear weapons, they have this, they have that, and then you start this campaign. And yeah, it could, but for now, I don't think anywhere close to Iraq. Because remember, Iraq started really with a mass casualty terrorist attack. You know what I'm saying? Beyond just like Saddam and the Osamas, just remember 9/11 and what that did. That was the real catalyst that eventually then people are like, yeah, stop them from having weapons. Anybody. And then everybody just blindly went into that. Even Bush, aluminum tubes. So for now, I don't think we're at that stage of the conflict, but it could get there. It's just, that's why it just all depends. And, we're early and just right when we thought it was chilling out from last week, just as, they're like, oh, 2 weeks, it's starting to step up. So be patient, but maybe I'd say give it like 3 more months from now, like really when it's all said and done. 4 months is what it took last time. So we will find out. Again, even with Iraq and stuff, I think it was like what? I think it was like August. It was like September. And then you were within 8 months, you were getting troops, right? Or like 4 months. So it'll take some time. But that's why for now, we have no idea. But we will find out, my friends. So on that note, have no fear. You are all blessed. You guys know that. You be prepared. Pray for everybody, man. Pray for peace. And hopefully we get a conflict resolution that is not as long and drawn out. But Chad, I love you all. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Get you that rest. I'm going to see you bright and early. And just know, life is beautiful, okay? Even in the midst of unbeautiful things. I know you see the world, but I want you to get the sparkle in your eye, okay, my friends? And I need you to just breathe in real quick. I know you're going to tell me war. Your mind says war, but I need you to just realize, like, life. Just relax and pray for them. Heart of a child. Just ask for them to stop fighting. Okay, and you calm down and relax and be ready. Okay, it's going to be an interesting summer. And remember, war, sometimes the war, I'll just end it with this, man. Sometimes the war is in your mind. And it's the war of the mind. Man, you ain't even seen a bullet. It's all in your, that's it! I love you, Chad. Enjoy your weekend. God bless all of you. And peace. Yeah, well, Josh. Huh? Yeah, you regret voting for him? Huh? I never followed Iran. Yeah, I ran away. Yeah, you prick. Wasn't that, Donald? Peace in the Middle East, or more, that just... More, you fucking sent a B-52. What the fuck? I didn't even get a B-52. Well, they were weak. They threatened, I don't know, what is his name? Kamini? Why do they have the same name? They said They said they were weak. I said, anybody would attack. Anybody. If you found out that the bully was terminally ill, you would stab him. Everybody would. I don't know. That's it. That's a bad one. I love you all. Have a good one. Goodbye. Hey, we probably shouldn't. Howard, help me.